attending their choir like flock. Well-mannered, though sometimes wily sheep. A group of angels appeared to them. Good angels. The Annunciation to the Shepherds by Reverend Lindbergh. It's hard not to laugh. What a picture it makes. The dumbfounded shepherds, dumbfound yourselves, be dumbfounded. And the stricken sheep. This cacophony of bleating and the barking of sheepdogs. Dashing and nipping in a vain attempt at order. And over it all, the angels trying to make their shimmery voices heard. The shepherds, they say, a who? Wrapped in what? The shepherds holler back, where are we supposed to go? These poor guys, all they wanted was directions. Some kind of purpose, a sense of how the story might end. But instead, all they got, all that any of us ever get, was the sound of angels somewhere beyond the din, trying to speak to them, singing Glory Hosanna across this improbable night. But slowly, the voice of the angels spoke through the noise in song. Woof, woof. Because Jesus was born. Jesus was born and he grew up. Shepherds can sit too. Jesus was born and he grew up like most other kids in his hometown. He and his friends. Jesus plays and a rabbi. Please. Always mindful of playing Incredibus was an ancient version of Duck, Duck, Goose done in incredibly slow motion. And when they were done playing, they sat and studied the Jewish law. They would sit with their rabbi, who's the guy over there. They would sit with their rabbi and learn of the ways of their people from their teachers. And Jesus would argue in the tradition of the Jewish leaders. He would argue lovingly. He'd argue with his teachers. He would say, why? He would ask why. Now, being a Jew at this time was difficult. Because you see, there were the Romans. Can we have our Roman guard? Oh, Roman guard? The Roman guard can line up behind that chair. See, the Romans had control of their land. The Jews of the day lived under their thumb. The Romans loomed over their studies and their games, looking very tough. Very tough. Sometimes the guards even just stand there flexing their muscles. Randomly kiss their muscles while they're flexing their muscles. Jesus and his friends oppressors. Y'all can say. And so Jesus grew up in the shadow of Rome. There was the presence of the guards as before. Tough as ever. And there were the leaders who gave the guards their orders. Today we have a Roman magnate. Oh, magnate? That's right. Jesus would come downtown to preach his messages of love. We have Jesus. Jesus had grown in wisdom and in stature. And sure enough, he would preach. He would preach and he would teach. Not as close to the magnet, because he's a little afraid still. He would teach, and he told the people that the powerful Romans were not the ultimate authority. And people came listening to the teachings. Slowly, more and more people came. He called people to live differently, to reach out and connect directly to God, to give up their possessions, to care for the poor and to the sick. And slowly, as more and more people came to hear his teachings, the more and more dangerous Jesus became. The more the people in power became uneasy with his presence. And the more uneasy the rulers grew, the more dangerous it became for Jesus. More and more agitated the ruler became. And more agitated the ruler became. Until finally, one day, he sent his henchmen to take Jesus away. So, this year, this Christmas time, we celebrate the message and the memory of this holy person. This man who walked this same earth that we walk, was warmed by the same sun and fell asleep under the same moon. We honor his ministry and his message this time of year. So often we can lose this person of Jesus, swept up in the craze to prove our love to those close to us, to connect with family and friends when we have little time to connect with ourselves. We can forget about this guy who, through fascinating twists and turns of history, became the figurehead of a movement that I think he probably had very little intention of creating. I like to remember this time of year that Jesus himself wasn't really a Christian per se, but that Jesus rather was a wandering prophet who looked straight into the oppression that faced him and his people and said that it had to stop. He was a lover of God who strove to be so connected, so reminded of his spiritual life that at all times he was one with the holy. And that's what I want to celebrate this Christmas. That one has come before us who can even now point the way towards being a person who can change our world. A person who does not accept what others say is true, but rather wrestles with truth and wants to know our own knowing. So this Christmas and always, may we have the strength to speak our truth, especially when it is hard. May we have the wisdom to reach out to all those who are suffering in this world. And may we be blessed with the peace which comes when we know that we are helping this world to transform, helping it become more loving, more beautiful, and more good. And Merry Christmas. I invite you to rise in body, rise in spirit, join in our next hymn.